Welcome to the baseballswing.com. Joe Colucci here with you. We're going to take a look today at Julio Rodriguez. So my initial thought was just to do a kind of generic swing breakdown. But when I went to grab some videos of him, I came across three swings that I liked and was thinking about using. One was a high pitch, one was a kind of thigh-high pitch, and one was down low. And it dawned on me, I can kind of give you guys a little bit of a nugget as to how to adjust to low, medium, and high pitches, and how he does it exactly in line with what I think is correct. So we'll do a little breakdown, and we'll use this swing here on the low pitch. But we're also going to kind of talk a little bit about the other positions and the adjustment he makes to handle all those pitches. So anyway, he kind of squats into his rear leg here. Leg kicks, and while he's leg kicking, he's pulling that right elbow back behind him, letting it fly a little bit, a la Bryce Harper. And when he kind of gets into, I'd say, this position here, we're going to take a look at his shoulder angle, right? So, as I've spoken about in the past, if you were to load up and get a decent amount of tilt going like he has here, and you came into toe touch with that same heel plant, you'd be okay, all right? It's not a problem. And then when you go from toe touch to heel plant, that's when the right shoulder for a right-handed player would start working down. The elbow would start working to the hip. I'm going to suggest to you at this point, he's got a little bit of an understanding maybe that he wants to get this bat slotted, right? And he wants to get going before he gets into toe touch. So what you're going to see here from this position, we'll get rid of this line, his right elbow is going to start working down to his hip. Okay, it's falling. And then he's going to slot the bat and get into impact, so on. I want you to note something about here. So he has a bad angle, right? I wouldn't call it overly steep, certainly not too shallow. But if I had to guess, I'd say, well, it's a little bit on the steeper side. I might like to see it a little lower. But guys with steep bad angles like this, and I'll kind of point you towards Mike Trout. He's a guy that comes to mind. They're going to work their rear shoulder down, and they're going to typically be steeper into the ball, but they're going to handle low pitches better. So that's what we have exactly here. I'm thinking he's recognized now this ball is not going to be up. It's going to be down, and he's left his bat angle maybe a little steeper, right? Not quite sure, but I think he's kind of, that's where we're going with this. Now, as I bring him into impact, I want you to note the angle of the right arm. So there's two factors that allow him to adjust to a low pitch. He tilts his shoulders maybe a little more than he would on a high pitch. And I think more important is he lets this arm just unfold. So if we take him back a couple frames, you can see this elbow is every bit of 90 degrees. And if we go back just a little further, he keeps his swing pretty tight to his helmet. Here it's pretty tight to his shoulder. Largely because he's got that right arm almost like he's flexing his bicep. So now his body's rotating, he's transferring weight onto his left side. He keeps this nice and connected or tight to his body by keeping that right arm in a flex position. If he were to keep it there throughout this entire swing, he would swing over this pitch. But at this point, kind of a mental exhale, almost like he's breathing out, and he gets into just before impact, and his arm is pretty much unfolded. Now, the neat thing I found that I'm hoping to share with you today, we have his elbow at a little different angle, a little more towards the flex position on a pitch that's about thigh high. And if we go beyond that, and we got a pitch that's up, you're going to see this is basically 90 degrees. He's in that flex position. And also be aware that this forearm now is working skyward, whereas if we look at the thigh-high pitch, it's kind of working right towards the pitcher, and now it's pointing down. So this is a good barometer for you guys to kind of key in on when you start watching your videos of your own swing. You know, are your elbows and forearms doing everything that's happening here? So again, at the thigh-high pitch, he gets into this position at impact. If we take him back a couple of frames here, and it's kind of hard, there's not a lot of frames, but you'll notice he's very much in this flexed position. Now, this is a little past where I want it to be, but you'll notice the bat angle also is flattening out a little more than he did on the low pitch. Because, again, by this time he realizes this pitch is probably going to be about belt high or lower, but it isn't going to be super low and down by the knees. Point is this, he's in the same position here that he was on the low pitch, and he will be on the high pitch. The difference is, as he kind of turns into impact, we can get that line back up. Oh, well, even without the line, here's what we got. There we go. Forearm pointing straight towards the pitcher or even with the ground, and we're getting a little closer to that flex position. I'm going to take you into this higher pitch, and you're going to see the absolute flex position, 90-degree bend, and we're going to see the forearm pointing up. Now, leading into this swing, you're going to see that bat angle back here already on plane and pointing behind him. Much more shallow. Something else I want to point out as he goes into impact here on a higher pitch. Notice how this lead elbow is kind of bowed out a little and working away from him, a la a disconnected position. I'm going to suggest to you that's not a problem, and here's why. Because he's very connected with his right arm. And he had to make room by bowing this elbow out, and also to get it on the barrel, he had to pull the bat in, because I suspect this is a little bit inside. So he made the adjustment. Hopefully these things come somewhat naturally to you guys, but I don't want you to think that it's a bad position. It's not. It's good. It's an adjustment. You should allow this to happen. If we go back down to the lower pitch and we get him closer to impact, you're going to see this left arm straight across the chest, no bow at all. He needed to do that to extend to get to the lower pitch. So much like his right arm or his back arm, top hand, is in a different position, so is his lead arm and front arm, the left arm. So we go from here, we get rid of that, and we look at that. So much different arm positions, but everything leading up to the arm position is very, very similar, except for the bat slot. When he sees a higher pitch, he slots the bat earlier and more. And again, that's instinctive. He wants to get it on plane with this pitch that's bearing down on him. Conversely, when we get back into that similar kind of position, he's much steeper with the bat because he knows he has to unleash it down in this area. So you'll hear this phrase, first wheel versus merry-go-round. Well, he's a little bit more of a first wheel or on a steeper plane here because of the pitch location. And he's going to get himself, in the next frame or two, a little bit more on the merry-go-round. Okay? So it is the same swing. He loaded the same. There are different pitch locations, and consequently, he swung differently. He doesn't have a different swing. If you always bow out your lead arm, okay, and this is your A1 swing, and this is what you work on positionally on the tee, you're not going to hit low pitches well. And if you commit overly to being more along this line, where your lead arm is dead straight and there's not much bend at all in your rear arm, well, you're not going to hit high pitches very well. So what I'm saying is there is no Ferris wheel or merry-go-round. There is only both. And you should be thinking of swinging on one or the other or somewhere in between. And that will cover from the knees to the letters. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. Joe Colucci with thebaseballswing.com. Please like and subscribe. Love to hear your comments down below. And till next time, have a great day.